Hey guys, I am just filming a little intro here for you, letting you know, because I did not do one for the Thanksgiving stuff, but I'm basically just going to show you little bits and pieces of my afternoon. I came home from work. I got home from work like 3 or 3:30 on Wednesday, and I started my process of cooking. So I'm going to show you that I'm making the corn stuff, the pie, the rolls, everything that I'm doing. I'm going to show you little bits and pieces, and then when I'm done, I'm going to show you what everything looked like. I'm going to show you what our plates look like and what we thought of everything. So I hope you didn't slave over the stove too much for Thanksgiving, but here's what we did. Alright, these are the sausage balls. I actually got this recipe from Budget Keto Clearance Mom, and that's Amber's channel. I will link that below as well. So I've got them all made up, ready to go in the oven. Alright, there's the sausage balls. They turned out pretty good. I forgot to put them on parchment paper, so they did try to stick a little bit, but they turned out good. So this is what the corn pudding looks like before I put it in the oven. I've made this before I was keto. The non-keto version, basically, it's just like a Jiffy cornbread mix and creamed corn and regular corn. And I think that's pretty much it. With this, it's actually made with yellow squash, baby corn, some eggs, heavy whipping cream. So it's a little bit more involved to make it, but the reviews on it were good. Anytime I do a recipe, I usually read people's responses and reviews first. So I'm going to see how this goes. It goes in for 30 minutes. Then I had said to stir it and put it back in for 30 more minutes. Probably because of the eggs, but it's definitely different. So we'll see what it looks like when it's done. Okay, here is the corn pudding. Maybe I should have cut the pieces up smaller. It said to dice everything, and I diced everything, so anyway, we'll see what it tastes like tomorrow. Okay, I'm making the pie crust for my pumpkin pie. It's a coconut flour crust. I figured it would be different and maybe a little sweeter because it's coconut flour. Alright, here's an example of how things don't go as planned. You know, you guys see this anytime. Okay, it tells you to use a 9-inch pie plate. Okay, this is an 8 3/4 one that you get from the store. Comes in like a 2-pack. I've already mashed down the crust some, and I honestly, it's like the whole tin is filled with pie crust, and my measurements are correct. So I'm going to take this and break it up into 2, because there's no way I'm going to get any filling in that. So I'm going to use my other pie crust and probably end up with 2, my other pie pan, and probably end up with 2. So we'll see. Okay, so this is what I've got. I've still got to poke the holes in them, but I clearly had enough for 2 pies. I could have probably took a little bit more out of that one so that this one would go up the edges a little bit more. I can probably push it up the edges a little bit more, but it's not going to have your typical edge, I don't believe. And then when I divide it up into 2, they're probably going to be shorter than average anyway when I use the filling. But they said you could roll it out with parchment paper, but that still would have gave me a ton of crust, because they did not tell me how thick to make it. They just said to press with your hands to form dough in the pie plate, or you can roll the dough out between 2 pieces of parchment paper and flip it over into a 9-inch pie plate. Okay, so this is what we have. We're probably going to have 2 pies. We'll see. I'm going to bake these now, and we'll see what they look like. Okay, here is how the pie crust turned out. I just pulled them out in the oven. I know they tell you to cover the edges with foil so they don't burn. They're not as dark as they look on camera, but I probably should have. So when I put the pie filling in, which I got the pie filling ready, and there's definitely enough to do 2 of these. So I don't know if the recipe is incorrect or what. But I'm going to try to see if I can cover these edges a little bit with foil before I put them back in the oven. And I don't know if I said this when I first started talking about the pie, but I have never made a pie in my life well, a pie crust. I bought the crusts that were already made, you know, but this is a first. Okay, I've got them in the oven. I've got the foil around the edges, so hopefully the crust won't burn, and we'll see how they turn out. All right, here's the pies. The foil did a really good job of not letting them burn, so that's good. I'm glad I did that for the last part. I should have done it in the beginning too, but that's it. And it said to do it until they were set. They're not jiggly anymore. And I put a knife in like you do with a cake, and it came out clean. So I got 2 pies. I'm probably gonna end up taking one to work. I'll probably take the prettier one to work and keep this one for the house. But there we go. We'll see what they taste like tomorrow. They smell amazing. Only thing I have left to do now is put the turkey in the crock pot, the turkey breasts. I will do those before we go to bed. I'll put that in there and put it on low all night. And then the only thing I have to do in the morning is make the rolls. The mashed potatoes we are using, I've showed you guys these before. It's the Bird's Eye. This one is the sour cream and chives. That's our favorite. You don't have to add anything to those. They taste great the way they are. I've got the mashed potatoes. I've got a couple of cans of green beans. And I have a jar of this Heinz home-style gravy. And you can't see it because I can't focus and hold the camera at the same time. But it's 25 calories for a quarter cup, 2 grams of fat, no protein, and 3 carbs. And you know, I'm not going to use a quarter cup of dressing, maybe like a tablespoon or 2. So I figured, you know, I looked at that before I bought it to make sure it would work. And we're going to go with that. My hubby came home and I told him he could try some stuff, so we tried the pie. It is amazing. It is some thick crust, but I do love crust anyways, so. And we actually tried the corn stuff. It's pretty good too. Alright, so here's my turkey. I have to break it up. Turkey breast. Top part might be a little dry. It's a little abnormal. We ended up with an issue. Turns out they basically just gave me a turkey without the wings and the legs. So we were cutting turkey meat off so we could get it all in the crock pot last night, and it was still almost frozen in some places. It was frozen in the middle. So we put it in there, and it's been on low for like 13 hours, 14 hours, somewhere around there, with a packet of onion soup mix, which is a recipe I've been doing with just us forever, and actually not less ranch. Actually tastes pretty good. So just one of these packets. Don't want ranch, turkey.
Breast.
Turkey. And then we're going to have a couple of sausage balls this morning for a little snack because it's 9 o'clock and because we'll probably eat at 11. And I'll make the rolls. Alright, here's my dough for the Keto Sweet Hawaiian rolls. Basically, it ended up being like a fathead dough, but it's got almond flour and coconut flour, xanthan gum, eggs, baking powder, a lot of baking powder, 4 tablespoons, and yeah, so it's got the mozzarella and the cream cheese in there. So I had to put it in the fridge for 30 minutes. Now I'm going to roll them into balls, and it ends up taking almost an hour to cook them. So we'll see how they turn out. The rolls, I forgot to show you when I rolled them up before I put them in the pans, but the one pan's back in the oven, but this is what they look when they're done. It didn't tell you how far to put them apart, but it said you could put them all on an 8x8 or 9x9, but my 9x9 pan is kind of like a pan full of rolls. So I did taste the center one on the other pan to see if it was done. It's a teeny bit doughy, so I stuck them back in there, but I'll show you our finished plate. Alright, there's our plate, guys.
Can you go the way so I can eat?
He's hungry. We've already tasted everything. Everything's good. Okay, so overall, everything was good. I feel like the corn stuff probably would have been better if I'd have cut it up really, really tiny. I feel like it said to dice them up, but I feel like my diced was still a little too big. So if I were to do it again, I would cut everything up a lot smaller, because since it wasn't such tiny pieces, I guess they need to be like the size of corn, which would make sense because mine were about twice that big, sometimes bigger, but I diced it up. I feel like some of the pieces could have been done a little bit more, could have been a little bit softer. So it's just one of those things that I may or may not do again. I wasn't a fan of it that much. It wasn't bad, but I was just like, this isn't what I want it to taste like. So my husband said he liked it, and he said every time he had more, because he had it again for dinner, that it kept tasting better to him. The rolls were amazing. They were just sweet enough, not too sweet, and then some of them, the way I had them on a certain pan, the way they came out, they ended up like, they almost looked like biscuits, and they almost tasted like biscuits. So I had some odd idea, like when I had dinner, I was like, I'm gonna have a couple of sausage bowls with my roll / biscuit and my turkey and my last piece of pie that I was gonna have for the day, because I only had to have one at lunch and one at dinner. I said, I'm gonna dip my sausage balls in some of my sugar-free pancake syrup, and it was so good. I just barely dipped a little bit in there per bite, and I'm like, that's really good. That's good for like breakfast. And then I accidentally got some syrup on my biscuit, and I was like, oh my lord, that's good too. And so my husband was like, this would be great as a biscuit with like sausage and cheese in the middle, like your own little sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. I was like, yeah, they would. So I'm definitely making the biscuits again. Or I guess they're supposed to be Hawaiian sweet rolls, but I don't think there's any recipe out there that could probably compete with a normal Hawaiian sweet roll, because they're like a yeast roll. They're just so soft and pillowy and sweet, and I don't think you can compete with that. But they were really, really good. The pie was really, really good. I don't understand why it made so much, unless it was supposed to make 2 pies in the recipe, and they didn't specify that. But it did say to put it in a 9-inch pie. But I ended up with 2 pies, which is fine. And even the 2 pies that I ended up with, the crust was thick, which I don't have an issue with that either, because I love crust on a pie. So that ended up perfect. So I ended up with 2 pies, which is good, because we ate like 1 pie within the first day, basically, because we made it Wednesday. So we both had a piece of pie Wednesday night because we wanted to taste it, and it was so good. So the pie was amazing. The corn stuff was okay. The biscuits / rolls were amazing. The turkey was a disaster. I mean, it was good. It turned out great. But in the beginning, since I ordered it online and I didn't properly know what I was buying when I'm buying it through Kroger pickup, I think the turkey breast we normally buy, I don't even think they have any bone in them. But this was basically a whole turkey, and they just took the wings and the drumsticks off. It even had a packet of gravy in the middle. And I was really glad that I took it out of the freezer Sunday night instead of Monday night, because it was still partially frozen. So my husband and I sat there freezing our fingers off, trying to cut the meat off of it to put it in the crock pot Wednesday night. It was crazy. But next year, or next time we do one, I would definitely go in the store and make sure I get the right kind of turkey breast. So, but the sausage balls were from Budget Keto Clearance Mom. Amber shared that recipe recently, so I'll actually put all the links below on all the recipes that I made. And I really enjoyed the coconut flour crust, but I think that's an excellent pie crust. Like, it would be good for cheesecakes or any other kind of pie you want to make, so it's really good. The most complicated thing to make was probably the corn stuff, because everything I had to cut up and everything. The pies were not that hard to make, just the crust was trying to give me trouble figuring out what was going on with all this extra dough. But everything was really good. We had a great Thanksgiving. My husband went to work. He left for work about 20 minutes to 3, I think it was. And then I started putting up the Christmas stuff. So I will do a separate video showing my Christmas decorations, because I still want to pick up a couple little things for my little accent table that I have now. I tried putting my tree in a different spot this year, because we don't really have a lot of room in our place. So, but I didn't like it there, so I put it back where I normally keep it. So I'll do another video for that. But I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.